Well, it's really lovely to catch up with Joe Perry, who is part of our 900 here on Pluto TV. What's it been like playing again?
It's been a bit hit and miss. It's enjoyable. The playing's enjoyable. You know, I don't do the preparation anymore. You know, there's no practice leading up to events. I just turn up and see what happens.
Do you feel like you achieved enough in snooker? If you reflect on your career?
Yeah, I think everyone's going to want to have achieved more. You know, there was a few near misses and a few things I'd like to have done. Not a great deal, but I think with like my ability and how competitive it is on tour, I think I walk away like with my head held high.
And what are those few things you would like to have done?
Well, they're not really that big, to be honest. Like I'd never made a 147 on TV. It would have been nice to have had that. They seem to be making them like century breaks these days. So to have not made one of them after all them years is a bit of a disappointment. But other than that, yeah, maybe another win somewhere. But no, I think I'm pretty happy about it all.
Yeah, and maybe had you not that victory in Wales against Judd Trump in that final, because it was a very different scenario, wasn't it, compared to winning in Beijing that time? Yeah,
and I had a couple of near misses in China as well, a couple of close finals. I lost one of the decider to Neil, another one to Ali, and the one I did win was in Thailand. So to finally win one on like home soil was really good, because obviously every player's got the support of their family and friends, but they can't go everywhere with you. So to finally do it, you know, where they could come and watch and enjoy it with me was really special.
Well, massive, wasn't it? And emotional as well, because I don't think even there was a trophy for you in Bangkok.
No, there wasn't. No, it took about 4 years to finally get that one, and a lot of messages to the chairman, who sort of like, he come through in the end. He promised me, and it took him 4 years, but he come through in the end.
And you emerged in a very strong era. You are part of the class of 1992. What was it like back then and emerging with those players?
Yeah, it's great to be a part of that, but you know, in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best era to come through in. It was tough. You know, I never ever got to represent my country at junior competitions. You know, I hear about all these kids winning World Juniors and European Juniors. I was never good enough to make the team or get the spots for that. You know, you had people like Ronnie and Mark and John, even like people like Steve Lee, people may have forgotten about by now, you know, but they were head and shoulders above me at a young age, and they sort of kept that all the way through my playing career. You know, I beat them a few times, but you know, they are the class 92. They was always a bit better than everyone else.
And watching what they're doing now, how do you see that?
Oh, it's incredible.
Just sum it up for us.
It's absolutely incredible, but I'm not surprised. You know, they are players of a generation, and they're still so much better than what's out there. You know, the players coming through, they're talented, they make 100 breaks for fun, they play pop balls, they make 147s, but you know, the ring craft them guys have got, and to be able to do it at that level for so long is incredible. And they're just too clever. They're too good, and they're too clever for the majority of players coming through.
How well do you know them? How well do you know, like, Ronnie O'Sullivan? I mean, years on tour, years playing snooker. You've obviously competed against all of them. Like, how well do you know them?
Ronnie probably the least. You know, I've always had a really nice relationship with Ronnie, but we've never been like friends off the table. If ever we're about, we'll sit and chat, and I feel like I'm very comfortable in his company. But Ronnie's a bit different to the others. He doesn't mix like the others, you know. But I've been around like Mark Williams and John Higgins for many years, and yeah, I feel like I'm pretty good friends with them. Obviously, that's now going to drift apart a little bit, not being on tour, but yeah, always been very, very comfortable in their surroundings.
Was there a sadness to retiring?
No, not at all, because I'd thought about it for a long time. I fell out of love with snooker about 2 years before I actually retired, and I'd sort of mentioned it at home with my close family and said what I was thinking about doing, and I think my dad was more disappointed than anyone, really, but I knew like I'd had enough. I
remember your dad, and he'd know exactly where you were in the rankings.
Yeah,
he'd be more up to speed on it than you all the time.
It's given him a bit more time to do other stuff now. He hasn't got to delve into the rankings day in, day out. But no, I said I agreed to give it one more year to see if things changed and if I sort of got the hunger and the love back. And to be honest, the last year I just couldn't wait for it to finish.
Really?
I knew I'd had enough. So so no regrets. It was more than ready for me to pack up.
Yeah, well, it was your time, but not quite, because you're here playing in the 900, which is great. I mean, do you feel like your life is fulfilled now that you've retired?
Yeah, I think so. In terms of snooker, you know, I've moved on to something different now. Like, you know, we opened a club. Me and Penny opened a club about sort of nearly 2 years ago. and that's a whole different thing. You know, I'm actually working harder now than I've ever worked. I think I'm awake. I'm awake for longer.
Maybe convince us a little bit more there, Joe.
Well, you know, snooker it's a job, but it's a nice job. You know, you're doing what you want to do day in, day out. You're mixing with your friends. I was always told I was always having fun by, you know, Penny and my other friends and stuff, but I'm actually working for a living now. Okay. But no, I feel pretty fulfilled. Snooker's done. It's a great part of my life, and now I've got other little things I'm sort of working on.
Okay, right. Well, we look forward. We might even head down to the club one day. Thank you so much.
That'd be lovely.
And great to have you here at the 900.
Thank you.